When we talk about the Soviet secret cities, we often focus on the brilliant physicists and the high-stakes espionage. But there is another story, a much darker one, about the people who actually built these cities from the ground up. They were the forgotten men of the Gulag, an army of 70,000 prisoners who were sent to the most remote corners of Siberia with nothing but pickaxes and dynamite. They were the secret nuclear army of the Soviet Union, and their lives were the fuel that powered the atomic age. Imagine being sent to a place like Krasnoyarsk 26. You're not there to live, you're there to dig. Your job is to hollow out a granite mountain to create a subterranean fortress for producing plutonium. The conditions were horrific. In the winter, the temperature would drop to 40 below zero. In the summer, the mosquitoes were so thick you could barely breathe. And all the while, you were under the watchful eyes of NKVD guards who saw you as nothing more than an expendable resource. These prisoners weren't just common criminals. They were enemies of the people, farmers who had resisted collectivization, soldiers who had been captured by the Germans and were now considered traitors. Oh, and even scientists and engineers who had fallen out of favor with the regime. They were the backbone of the Soviet industrial machine, and without their slave labor, the secret cities would never have existed. The scale of the work they performed is staggering. At Krasnoyarsk 26 alone, they excavated more rock than was used for the Great Pyramid. They built miles of underground tunnels, vast holes for reactors, or an entire cities on the surface for the scientific elite. And they did it all under a veil of absolute secrecy. If a prisoner died, and many did, their death was never recorded. They were simply replaced by the next transport of human material. The irony of the secret cities is that they were built on a foundation of slavery to create a world of privilege. While the prisoners were dying of exhaustion and radiation exposure in the tunnels, the scientists who would eventually inhabit the cities were living in luxury. They had the best food, the best housing, and the best schools for their children. It was a perfect, and perfectly cruel microcosm of the Soviet system. But the prisoners didn't always go quietly. In some of the most remote camps, like Norilsk, the death of Stalin in 1953 triggered massive uprisings. Thousands of prisoners went on strike, demanding human rights and an end to the brutal conditions. These rebellions were eventually crushed by the military. But they sent a shockwave through the system and marked the beginning of the end for the vast network of labor camps. As the Gulag system was slowly dismantled in the late 1950s, the secret cities remained. The prisoners were replaced by free workers, many of whom were drawn by the high wages and special privileges of the closed territories. But the memory of the men who built those cities remained buried in the permafrost, a secret that the Soviet state would continue to guard for decades. Today, many of the secret cities still stand, and the descendants of those prisoners still live in the regions they were forced to build. Their story is a reminder that the miracles of the Soviet atomic age were bought with the blood and sweat of millions of forgotten people. But what were they building all of this for? What was the ultimate goal of all that secrecy and suffering? In our next video, we're going to witness the culmination of the Soviet nuclear project, the day they detonated the most powerful weapon ever built. A bomb so big it was practically unusable, the Tsar Bomba.